How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our mortgage-free segment today, we're going to interview Kevin Hooper from Illinois. He and his wife Amber recently paid off their mortgage, and he's here to tell us why they did it, how they did it, and what they're doing now with that extra money. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Andy. It's an honor to be on the show, and thank you for all you do to support others in the leadership role that you have in this movement.
Oh, thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about your background. What was your motivation for wanting to pay off your mortgage?
Yeah, we just had this innate drive to be as debt-free as soon as possible. My wife and I were looking at a mortgage bill not too long ago and just started thinking, looking at this amount that's due, if we really buckle down here, we can really get this paid off in much sooner than the 30-year window that it was initially set up for. So we just really wanted to have that comfort of knowing that we owned outright that home that we love, the one that we searched so long for and finally found right at the end before we're about to give up. And yeah, just knowing that even in the worst case, if something were to happen, we'd have that roof over our head. So that was the big drive.
That makes a lot of sense. So when you were thinking back at that point and having those discussions with Amber, were you thinking about, well, if we didn't have a mortgage payment, we would do X with our money? What were you guys talking about at that point? What were you dreaming about?
Yeah, I think, again, we were looking for that freedom. It absolutely killed us to see that interest portion of that payment. We were 5 years into our mortgage at the time, and still that interest wasn't down to where we were hoping it would be at that point. But yeah, we just wanted to think about our future and make sure that we had the freedom and financial independence to be able to make decisions for ourselves down the road that would make us happy and give us the flexibility for wherever our children decided to settle in their lives, that we could be able to support them and be with them if that's something we wanted to do.
I love it. I love that thinking long term. That's very cool. So talk to me about the decision process. Did you bring it up to Amber? Did Amber bring it up to you? Was it a joint decision? How did you guys come to that decision together?
Yeah, again, I can't pinpoint exactly that the day or who blurted it out first, but we really did come to it together. But the finance trained part of my brain here, I was the first portion of my career was in corporate banking as a credit analyst for a large multinational bank. So I have this finance trained brain to evaluate our different options, and even though the finance part of me was saying, there's probably some better ways we can get this money, what we've built up working for us in the market and over 30 years, probably some way to increase those earnings. That kind of value side of our brain and emotional side really won over the day.
That's incredible. So yeah, I'm sure that was probably a struggle for you, knowing how the numbers work and how much you could potentially make in the stock market and everything like that. Was there a battle back and forth in your brain on, should I just invest this in the market instead of doing this?
There was. And Andy, I got to tell you, I listened to your podcast about every single one of these episodes about this and would keep my pro and con list, growing after each episode. And again, at the end of the day, I just remember, you shared and many of your guests would share the same sentiment that, we couldn't ignore that feeling of, I don't like having this liability hanging over my head. And, this is money that we feel, we'd rather have in our house and to be having that secure part of our lives. So
yeah, it's sure hard to put into a calculator, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's the ultimate intangible.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about how you guys got it done. Talk to me about when you bought the house and then how long it took you to pay it off. Give me some of those details.
Yeah, so we bought in December of 2015 and here in Oak Park, Illinois, which is just west of Chicago. So real estate values are relatively high here, as are property taxes. So not only in our community, but also in our state. This is where we were born and raised in the Chicago suburbs. So being close to family was important to us. So that's one reason why we wanted to plant our roots here. But also the proximity to the city and to get there or to the suburbs or to your beautiful state of Michigan for our weekend trips or Wisconsin. So we live right by large highway systems, mass transit. I can walk to the train to get downtown or drive to the western suburbs to my job now. It was really the perfect spot for us. And we found a community that again, shared our values. It's a very strong sense of community here. We can walk to about 6 different parks. So we have a conservatory, a library in walking distance, restaurants, all that. So you pay for a lot, but you get a lot. And as far as public education goes here in our community too, we knew that it was a big tax bill, but we're getting our money's worth. And this is the sort of high level public education we wanted for our kids. So all that said, we did incur a pretty large mortgage, for our home here. Probably so the initial selling price of the home was $400,000. So we set a big goal. Excuse me. In January of 2020, we had a big goal to accumulate $285,000. So what that would have done for us, that would have paid the remaining principal balance of the mortgage, but we would also that would include a 6-month buffer for us for any emergency spending that we would potentially have to dip into soon after the payment. So that's how we did it. We set the big goal of this, 285. If we can get there, great. And then figured out on a month-to-month basis, what do we need to do with these mini goals? And so we just looked at each of our biweekly pay dates. We get paid every 2 weeks on the same day, and said, okay, what do we need to put aside each one of these Fridays as we make our Friday night pizza order? What also then can we transfer into our savings account to make sure we get to our big goal?
Oh, that's great. So that made the pizza taste really good when you're throwing that money in there, right?
That's right.
That's great. Well, so you said you wanted to accumulate 285. So did you guys put that into like a taxable brokerage account while you're saving it up, or an investment account, or were you just paying down the mortgage the entire time? How did that work?
Yeah, so we were continuing to pay our standard mortgage along the way, but putting that 285, the savings towards that into a high yield online savings account. So nothing flashy, nothing fancy, just something that we've had along the way, but something that was just secure, and because we knew we wanted this to be a short-term transaction. So want to make sure it was there when we needed it, and yeah, that did the job for us.
Got it. So that's unique. Instead of throwing it at the additional principal each month, you guys put it into account. Could you tell me why you did that?
I think just for the flexibility. If something happened along the way that would have caused us for our plans to be derailed, we wanted to make sure we had access to it. So so that's we just were looking for that flexibility along the way.
I think that's really unique because that gives you sort of an option at that point. Do you want to hit the button with the big money right now, or do we want to do something different with it? And depending on what's going on with the economy, it might make sense for you to have a year's worth of expenses or something else at that point. So yeah, I like that. That's a really unique way to do it.
Yeah, it was kind of like our own little lockbox. We knew it was put away, but it wasn't totally locked up. So
That's cool. So talk to me about how you guys did the process then. It sounds like you had some good discipline, and you were taking that money and taking the biweekly check to move it over into that account. Did you guys have to decrease your expenses during this time or increase your income? What did you do to make this happen in this time frame, which sounds to be about 5 years, right?
Yes. So on the income side, my wife over that time, we had our 2 children, and she was lucky enough. She works at another public school here in town that has an option for 1-year leaves. So she was able to take for the birth of each of our children a 1-year leave, which was great that we were able to. We feel very fortunate we were able to support each other in that time. And then give our little ones that 1 year home with mom. But of course, that meant no income from her then during for those 2 years over these past 5 as we were paying down this mortgage. So it's kind of been if you took a look at our family income then over these past 5 years, it looks like a roller coaster. But in this past year then, when she went back to work full time after the birth of our second, that's when we really looked at each other and said, okay, we're now back at full tilt here. We can really put the savings away and accelerate our path towards paying this off. And on the expense side, we just naturally have fairly conservative spending habits. Personally, I do like to live by a plan and a line item by line item sort of goal. And my wife is not naturally that way. However, she kind of has her own natural restraints for spending. So we kind of did it in the reverse way, kind of how I explained. We knew what our ultimate savings had to be. And then just knew that if we were getting close to, or if we exceeded that in a month, then we kind of looked back and said, where are we maybe, being a little exorbitant here? Where did we, break our own rules at this time? So it kind of gave us some personal freedom to still do the fun things that we like to do. And, we weren't putting too much pressure on ourselves and those things that are really important to us that we might pay a little premium on, like healthy whole foods for our family, family vacations, investing back in our home, so doing home improvement projects, those things that mean a lot to us. We were able to build that into our regular spending as long as we were tracking towards that net overall savings that we were hitting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you said you control your expenses and keep things in line, but you want to make sure that you're still enjoying life today and taking care of your family. What's your general annual expenses that you spend per year? Is it like 60,000, 100,000? What do you guys spend?
Roughly 90,000. Yep. So it's about 50% of our after-tax income. And so that, again, really was kind of a nice round goal for us too, to say, hey, listen, as long as our income continues at this level, this is the sort of standard of living that we like, and maybe in parts that we know we don't want to sacrifice. As long as we're staying true to that remaining 50, putting that away in the form of both savings, then we knew that we were on the right track. So it was a way to still have checkpoints along the way without really pulling our hair out, or having frustrating conversations or arguments around our role in our shared goal together.
Yeah. Were there any tough times, any arguments along the way that you guys had some, I really want to spend on this, or I really want to use this savings goal? Did you guys have any of those types of situations?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It is, the number one, cause of challenges and arguments in marriage. And that was not untrue for us either. So yeah. And I think we both, had our, I like to support a local barbershop here that's probably double the price of our regular haircut, which I'm missing going to right now in this in the shelter in place. But we definitely had those conversations. But again, as long as we were able to say, well, listen, where can we find our compromise here each month? If we're still meeting the shared goal together, then I can have my little treats and you can have yours too. So.
What were some of the things that she loved that she needed to hold on to?
Oh yeah, there's those, there's a delicious little corner bakery and coffee shop that's right around her workplace. So, some of those things that maybe were, daily trips or daily little pick-me-ups along the way became maybe weekly when we were, trying to really buckle down. Again, clothes and furniture and, kind of standard shopping, those are things that even naturally we didn't really like. We've been pretty disciplined along the way here. I'll also mention we've been married. We got married right after I graduated college. So our entire adult and financially independent, lives together, we've spent together. So we've learned how to, navigate our financial futures together. And so we really don't know anything different. And so there's a lot of things that we kind of naturally settled into. So that we can, remain happy on the same page and committed to our dreams together.
That's great. That's great. I love how you guys partner together and then figure out it's almost like there's a chart, right? That says, here's the things that I need to keep as part of the spending plan if we're going to do this. And it sounds like you guys had some of those discussions to make it happen. So let's talk about when you guys paid it off and what your life looks like now. So it sounds like you started in 2015 with this journey and then paid off in early 2020. Is that right?
So yeah, January 2019 is when we said to each other, okay, like this is, by this time next year, let's get this done. Let's pay it off and let's celebrate. So this past all of 2019 was really that year of socking it away. And then at the end of January 2020 is when we said, we've hit our goal, so let's go and make this a family event. My son, he's about to be 6, so he definitely is, learning those early lessons of personal finance. And we thought, what can we really do so that a 6-year-old will really remember this moment and can be a formative, lesson for him and something he can share with his children and grandchildren someday. So we had conversations in the weeks leading up to it about, what it means to buy a house, to take out a mortgage to assist in the purchase of that house, and how responsible you need to be to maintain paying that along the way. And then when the day came to pay it off, we said, okay, we can just do this online, do a big click and, celebrate at home, but let's make a thing of it. So there's a pretty historic bank downtown here in Oak Park that's right in the heart of the downtown and next to the movie theater and a couple restaurants. And his favorite, of course, Potbellies. So we went into the bank together and sat down with the banker and he was fascinated by just the whole setup and we had a little celebration in the bank and then raised a milkshake over at Potbellies next door. So
That's great. That's awesome. So you guys did it together. You did it with your son so he can see the process and then hopefully be inspired to create a mortgage-free life for his family as he grows up.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. So talk to me about what you guys are doing with the extra money now, because you were putting a lot of money away for a while, and it sounds like you both are still working at this point. What are your goals for your newfound money, I guess I'll say?
Yeah, so we're just continuing to direct that to our savings, but then also increasing our 529 a bit. We are part of the Bright Start program here in Illinois, and they have incredible tools out there to calculate based on when you're starting for each of your children, the type of risk or level of risk you want to take with your funds, the level or the interest that you anticipate, and then what sort of institution you're hoping to enroll in. So then you can calculate based on certain levels of investment per month, then where will you be by the time that they need those expenses for those 4 years. So what we've done is then kind of calculate. My wife and I both went to a University of Illinois, so a large public institution here, which at the time we went, the tuition was less than the room and board for in-state, which wasn't too long ago. But so how things have changed now. So yeah, we're looking at probably a 10 times factor for what our kids will be incurring by the time they're college ready. So so those calculators and working with those over these past few weeks has been something else that we've really decided is something that we want to invest more in. So take that money that otherwise would have been going to the mortgage and make sure those 529s are going to be ready come college.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's a big goal, to help your kids to graduate debt-free, for them to not have to deal with this student loan crisis that's going on right now. What about on the fun side? Are you guys doing anything else? You going on any more vacations? You hitting up the bakery a little bit more?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we snuck in our first family Disney trip here at the end of the year.
Just in time, right?
That just in time. So very fortunate. Had a blast. So just making sure that we keep those family. We read an article in the New York Times a few years ago called 18 Summers. Have you read that one?
I haven't read that one, but I've heard the term, and I think it's a great term to think about. Maybe you could talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Just basically, 18 summers is the amount of time you have with each one of your children as you raise them at home. So before they go off to college, and you think you might have more years, but if it's a student like me, I would always do summer internships, out of state or. So realistically, you have 18 summers to make those special memories with your family. So that's something that, again, we don't, though we have a soft budget on what the total would be for each one of those trips each year. Once we're on the vacation, we know what that amount is, and then all of those ties kind of break away so that we can really relax and enjoy our time together. So that's probably where we anticipate having a little more of our a little more spending now that mortgage is gone.
That's incredible. So you said you have a 6-year-old son, and then you also have another child,
a 2-year-old daughter.
2-year-old
daughter.
Yeah,
almost 3. Yep.
That's great. So what did she think about Disney World?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Blew their minds. Yeah. So
that's great. That's good princess age.
Incredible.
I got an 8-year-old daughter now, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with princesses. So maybe the 2-year-old enjoyed the princesses.
Absolutely. I will. And hey, Andy, watch out though. It takes. I could have a second master's degree due to all of the planning and researching that I spent on this trip. So if you need an itinerary or help with research, let me know, because
it is. You are so right. It requires all sorts of stuff, the fast pass calculation, all this craziness. It's insane. Absolutely. There could be a whole podcast on that.
That's right. The models, mirrored the same ones I was using back at the bank. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Kevin, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. So there's somebody listening right now, and they're geeked about doing this, and they're finishing this interview, and they're saying, "All right, I want to do this. I want to take this step." What is one piece of advice you'd leave with them to get started on paying off their mortgage early?
Yeah, I think, really just keep it simple and focus on your family. I think there's a lot of social pressures out there and a lot of forces out there that are working to take you away from your money. And so as you're working towards your individual goal, just keep asking yourself, is this really making me happy? When I make a purchase, when I invest, when I save, is this making me happy? And if the answer is yes, you're on the right track.
Kevin, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this. If people want to contact you, maybe ask you a few more questions, we've got the Thriving Families Facebook community, which is a great place to connect. But if maybe they had some specific questions for you, where should they go?
Absolutely. You can email me at my personal email, which is hoopkev@gmail.com.
Excellent. Excellent. Kevin, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, Andy. Good work. Take care.